Okay, we're beginning the what are called roughly the Dim-Mak Cornerstone forms. They come from Wudang, of course. Dim-Mak doesn't have its own art. It's not. A lot of people want to learn Dim-Mak. You can't just learn Dim-Mak. It doesn't have its own art form, apart from the 4 cornerstone forms, which are part of the Wudang sets, the Wudang series anyway. And they were taught at the end, although they're building stones, they're actually taught at the end. And the main reason is that they wanted you, because Dim-Mak is part of Wudang series, and they wanted you to be astute and learn the points and learn what they did and so on, just in case a lot of people became acupuncturists and Chinese masseuse and all that sort of stuff. So they learned the healing art, in other words. They wanted the people to learn the points, what they did, how to strike in direction, all the points. But of course, as you know, a lot of these points are totally useless because they're in areas that if you were to get at them, you'd be killed yourself because, you know, kidney 1, what are you going to do? Lift his foot up and strike it or something. So these 4 cornerstone forms are the only actual forms that Dim-Mak has. And they were always taught toward the end of one's training when one became a little more advanced. And so I figured that a lot of my students now are learning from the videos, they're learning from me, and so I'll introduce it now. There are 4 cornerstone elements on the earth, what the earth is actually made up of. Nothing to do with fire, wood, metal, all of that stuff. It's simply to do with things in Mother Earth. So we have the oceans or the rivers, water. That's one of the elements which I'll be teaching today. And then we have its opposite, which is the air, the wind, of course. And then they're the 2 extremes of yin and yang. And then we have the valleys and the mountains. And they're lesser extremes of yin and yang. So you've got out here, water and air, and you've got valleys and mountains in here. All of these forms contain fairly intricate Qigong methods, whereby, that's why they were given at an advanced stage, when people had already done their Qigong training. I'll be giving this one and maybe a few others at my Qigong camp in May anyway, because they are really nice Qigongs and they do give you some benefit, especially the first one in this form. You'll find it really just sets you off. Some of these forms work upon spiritual stuff like joining the outer with the inner and all that sort of stuff. And they also, but basically they work on health, and they all have different health aspects. The masters who invented these forms, as I said earlier, literally based them upon the element that they were inventing that form for at the time. So the river form, you'll find, is based upon the Yangtze or the Yellow River, and it's flowing in times, and then it'll go over some rapids or down a waterfall. So it's not all just flowing lovely, but all the time it's flowing beautifully through the whole form. And it's designed to get you into places, as the water does, gets into places that harder objects find difficult to get into. And that's what they based this first form upon. It teaches you Dim-Mak points. It takes you into the basics of Dim-Mak, basically, showing you the more deadly strikes, the ones that are easier to get to than the ones that you would learn in, for instance, a Dim-Mak lesson. So they just bang and get in there, smash them and kill the person by striking stomach 9 or the temple or something like that with maybe one or 2 setup points. So they're much easier to use in a self-defense situation, although they're not meant for a self-defense situation. Again, these forms are meant to teach you body movement in a self-defense area, respect, and to teach your body to move reflexively rather than having to think about stuff in a deadly self-defense situation. So that's why we have fairly complicated movement. And if you can get that right, then the basic movements will then become reflexive, and bang, you just go in and hit them and stomp on them and slam them once you're in there. So that's why we learn these forms. Otherwise you just go, because you learn this and you can do this really, really well. You only learn this and you'll never do that really well. That's the premise upon which everything is based. The whole of Taiji is based upon that premise. We have all these forms. Why do I have to do this bloody form? It's nice to do, but why am I doing it? It's because you're doing this in order to get this right down here. That's why we do these forms. Taiji, of course, is an advancement on the Wudang stuff, so is Bagua, Xingyi to a certain degree, and they have elements of this in. The whole of Taiji is based upon this, getting reflexive actions in a realistic self-defense situation. However, these are the cornerstones, these are the building blocks, so you can really understand where you're coming from a whole lot better. It's like the Wudang forms, they're shorter forms, but if you learn them, your Taiji training takes another step up, so is your Bagua training. And it's the same with these cornerstone forms. Once you learn these, everything else just seems to change. And they're shorter forms than a Taiji form, of course, so they're much more, a lot of people just find them more interesting because they are shorter and they're relatively easier to learn than a full Taiji form. But it really does add to your Taiji or your Bagua training. Okay, I'll just start you off right from scratch again. I know we've done these first movements, but I'll just go into it in a little more detail as we go through. That's how you start, just like that. Your hands just come up, turn left, turn right. That's all. So it's just left, in breath, out breath. Tongue's on the hard palate until we start doing the Qigongs. In your nose, and out. Just to settle yourself like it's Taiji, you see? First move, we're going to use Tiger Fist paws, these ones. You're going to be striking with your left hand with the whole of the palm, not with the pointed finger. You're going to be striking with the whole of your palm. And now you're going to be using a one knuckle punch upward, out to the side, like this. So the first movement of the hands is, this hand's going to come over, and the other hand's going to come up the middle, and you're going to come out straight out to the side, 90 degrees away. You'd take a step in a minute anyway. So that's the first move, hand movement. So after doing that, you make your fists. See, you make your fist as your hands start to move. They go out to the left, just a little bit, and then over, and that hand's going to come straight up the middle. Not too much of a one knuckle here, it's more of a tiger paw, so it's in here. You're aiming up under here, only this way, up into GV26. You'll be slamming down onto triple heater 8, which is here. That's the setup point. And the left hand, as it comes out, because of the movement, will be actually, you don't actually go slide up the arm. It'll be coming in a slightly upward movement, up his arm, like that. Bang, and that's going straight in underneath the nose, but with the palm facing upward. So that's your first move with the hands. What you do with your feet is, so from here, as your hands start to move, you take a slight step and turn your left foot out. Just a little, not a big step. See, up. Your gaze is going out this way. You know there's someone here, so you're still watching this person with your eagle vision or your peripheral vision. So as you come forward, this foot turns out, and your right foot is going to kick straight through as what we call a cross step, straight across his knee. So it's going to go, you're facing the north.